We're now in section 11 of our AutoCAD Electrical 2015 course. And as usual, over here in the Project Manager, you can see we've got Demo 11 Project open. I'm in the Schematic subfolder and we've got Drawing Demo 20 open here in the drawing area. It's a blank drawing and we'll be utilising that in a moment. In this section, we're going to be looking at adding electrical ladder layouts. Now, a ladder layout provides you with rungs to add your electrical components and also your wires to, and you'll see how that works in a moment when we bring a ladder into our AutoCAD electrical drawing. Now, your ladder style can be set up in a number of ways. You can do it on the fly with the ladder command, or it can be preset both in your project properties and your drawing properties. If I go to Demo 20 here and right-click on it, go to Properties here, and go into Drawing Properties, and I go up here to Styles, you can see that there are different styles available for arrows and so on. But if I go to Drawing Format, I can set my ladder defaults there. Now, you'll notice that these ladder defaults are exactly the same as the ones in the project properties if you go to the project properties. The difference being is that your ladder defaults for a project can be set to be the default for every project drawing. If you do need to edit one for a specific drawing, you go into your drawing properties and set up individual ladder defaults. So there's lots of different ways of editing the actual ladder when you bring it into an AutoCAD electrical drawing. I'm not going to make any changes there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Schematic tab on the ribbon and go into the Insert Wires Wire Numbers panel, and it's this icon here. Click on the flyout there and you've got the option to insert a ladder. You've also got XY grid setup and XZ or zones setup. The difference between those two I will explain later on in this section. At the moment, just worry about the insert ladder command. And you'll notice you can individually change your ladder settings. Now what it's done is it's adopted the ladder settings for the drawing properties or the project properties. Depends on which is the prevailing settings. So you can see that my width of ladder is 4.5 inches because I'm using the JIC Imperial standards, and the spacing there 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. Now I can specify a length with a number of rungs. I can specify first reference, which starts at 741. You might change that to a more sensible number like 800 maybe. The index number there allows you to specify the actual number increment. So that will go 801, 802. Or I can just place a ladder without reference numbers by ticking that box. Now it does depend on what kind of phase you are using. I'm going to use a 1-phase ladder, but you can use 3-phase for multiple bus wiring. Draw the rungs? Yes, no, and so on. You can skip rungs if you want to as well. We'll look at all of that a little bit later on. Now I'm going to specify the number of rungs, and I'm going to say that I want 15. As soon as I press Tab, everything updates and it gives me an actual length of my ladder, which is 10.875 inches with 15 rungs with a spacing of 0.75 with a width of 4.5. And the first reference will start at 800. So when I click on OK now, it asks for a start position of the first rung. Now normally that will be top left. So I'm going to pick a point here in my blank drawing like so. Takes a few seconds and there's my ladder straight into the drawing itself. Now the nice thing about this is it's all automated, it's parametric. So when I zoom in, there's my first rung, 800, second rung, 801, 802, 803, and so on. That is how you insert your ladder into your AutoCAD electrical drawing. You can renumber your ladder rung references in your ladder in your AutoCAD electrical drawing. It's very easy to do. Now what I've done, I've zoomed in nice and close on the ladder that we placed in the previous video, that we started with a rung at 800. Now we can renumber our rungs in our ladders very, very easily. We go to the Schematic tab on the ribbon, and we go to Edit Wires, Wire Numbers, and there's a little flyout menu just here, and you can add a rung. You can revise your ladder numbering, or you can renumber a ladder reference. Now we're going to look at renumbering the ladder references first. Now this is project wide. So you give your ladder reference number here that you want to start at. Let's say 100, and that'll go to the first drawing, the first ladder, the first line reference number. and then it will number sequentially from there onwards. Now, second drawing and beyond, you can use the next sequential reference. So let's say in your first drawing you went up to 104. The second drawing would then start numbering from 105 on the ladder references here. Or you can do a skip, drawing to drawing count. So I could do a skip there, for example, and change that value to 100. So my first drawing, all my ladder reference numbers start with 100. Then I skip by 100 so that my next drawing, the second drawing, will start the next ladder on the second drawing at 200. I'm not going to bore you by going and renumbering the entire project. If you needed to do it project-wide, that would be the way that you would do it. So I'm just going to cancel that for the moment and come into the drawing area again, back up to the Edit Wires Wire Numbers panel. Click on the same flyout. We'll look at adding rungs in a moment in another video, but let's look at Revise Ladder there. You'll notice that it comes up with the rung spacing, the rung count, and the reference start that we've already got in our drawing. It'll recognise that. And any other references that we've got to ladders in the drawing, I can specify in the empty boxes. But it's this particular reference that we need to look at. Now, all I'm going to do is change the reference start number. I'm going to change that to 900, and that's all I'm going to change. I'm going to leave the indexing at 1. Now, I could, if I wanted to, change that to 2, which means it would then go 900, 902, 904, and so on. I don't need to do that, but all that index is the sequential numbering. So it's doing 1 by 1, or 2 by 2, or 3 by 3, and so on. I'm going to click on OK. Just watch your reference numbers down here on your ladder. When I click on OK, drawing updates, regenerates, and I start at 900 instead. If there was any other ladders in that list, over here, let's say there might be another ladder, I could then select the next line down in the numbering and it would update those numbers too. AutoCAD Electrical would pick that up though. In the dialog box, if there were any other ladder numbering sequences, it would pick them up as the next one in the list and the next one in the list and so on. In this case, there's only one, so it's the only one that I need to renumber. But that is how you renumber your ladder rungs in your ladder references in your AutoCAD Electrical drawings. When we inserted our ladder into our drawing, which by the way is still Demo 20 in the project Demo 11 for working file purposes, we used a setting when we inserted the ladder. So let's go and have a quick look at that. Let's revisit that. So if I come up here to the Insert Wires Wire Numbers panel in the Schematic tab on the ribbon there, if I go to Insert Ladder, it was 4.5 inches, the default width. That's the default width in the drawing properties and more than likely the project properties because I haven't changed it individually for any drawing or any project. So that we know the width there is 4.5 inches, so I'll just cancel that for the moment. However, there will be times when you're inserting components on the rungs of your ladder and you need your ladder to be wider. So how do you resize your ladder? Well, the quickest way to resize your ladder is to go to the Schematic tab on the ribbon, go to the Edit Components panel here, click on this flyout here and use Scoot. Click on Scoot and it prompts you to select the component, wire or wire number. Now you've got a wire coming down here on your ladder and then you've got your rungs here. So you've got the two wires, that one there, that form the ladder, and then you've got the rungs going across. So if I click on this wire here, you'll see the Scoot command kicks in and I can move that visually wherever I want to. But you'll notice that the dynamic input automatically goes off because the Scoot is a visual thing. If I come down here, I can't touch the status bar. Scoot is tying me to the screen. So if I go this way like that, I don't know actually how far I've moved it. But visually, I might just say, oh, I need it to go that far. And as soon as I do that, it scoots it that distance. And then I press Enter or Escape to cancel that Scoot command. It just quickly flicks that across and makes it much bigger and allows me to fit in more components on the rungs of the ladder. So I'll just undo that for the moment, take that back to where it was. So I've gone back to my 4.5 width. I can just use the Stretch command in AutoCAD as well. There's nothing to stop me doing that. So if I go to the Home tab on the ribbon and go to the regular AutoCAD Modify panel, there's Stretch there. Click on Stretch and just click, drag upwards. Now be careful of this. You get this lasso thing, okay? I can do lots of whirly shapes. It's excellent, but it only selects the objects in the lasso, which is not what I want to happen. So I'm just going to hit Escape there and go back to Stretch again. And then you just do a quick click and then drag, okay? Don't hold the mouse button down, otherwise it does that lasso thing. Do a regular stretch using a rectangular crossing window. Remember, stretch only works with a crossing window, crossing polygon, or, as we saw, a crossing lasso now as well. So when I click there like that, it selects that entire right-hand half of the ladder plus the rungs. Now, we want the rungs to stretch across to the right. The wire, the vertical one, will just stay where it is and move in the plane of the stretch. So I just press enter to confirm. Now, the nice thing about this is because I'm using the stretch command now, I can utilize my object snaps and my polar tracking. So if I use that endpoint snap there, I can obviously snap to it. I need to make sure that my snaps are on, so I come down to the status bar and just click there, make sure that endpoint is on, which it is now. Come into the drawing area like so, and then when I hover there, I get an endpoint snap. So I can do this accurately. I can click, and then as I drag, look, going along the polar tracking there, keeping it level on the 0 degrees, I can type in a distance of, say, 3, and press enter, and that stretches it exactly 3. So you can see that I've got two ways of resizing my ladder once I've brought it into the drawing. I can resize it quickly and visually using Scoot, or I can resize it accurately using object snaps using the AutoCAD stretch command. Repositioning a ladder in a drawing is very, very easy to do. You simply utilize the AutoCAD move command and utilize your object snaps as well. One of the nice things about a ladder is it's got some nice endpoints to snap to. If I select all of these objects like so, using either a crossing or a window selection like that, I can just right click and on the shortcut menu I get the move command there as well. So I can use either the shortcut menu or the move option in the AutoCAD home tab on the ribbon. So if I click on move now, it says specify a base point. So if I snap to that top point there using the endpoint snap, I can drag that up here like so, get that nice and neatly in the corner, and there's my first ladder moved nice and neatly. Go back up here to undo on the quick access toolbar, take that back there. This time I go to the home tab on the ribbon, use the move command, prompts me to select objects again, a quick click, drag the window, make sure you get everything within your ladder. Don't miss a number or anything like that. If you miss one of those ladder rung reference numbers, for example, and you move the entire ladder, you won't know where that rung reference refers to. So make sure you get everything first time. Click like so, and then in this case, because you've used the move command on the actual ribbon itself, you have to press enter to confirm. Over here to the endpoint again, get the endpoint snap, click, just drag it to where you want it to go, click again, and you've moved your entire ladder. That is the quickest and easiest way to move a ladder. Now bear in mind, if you've got components on that ladder as well, if you move all of it in the one hit with either a window selection or a crossing selection, you'll also move all of the components as well, which is what you want to do. You want to move everything in one go, so make sure that you select everything before you use that move command. But it's that quick and easy. You just use the move command to reposition your ladders in your AutoCAD electrical drawings. You can alter your rung spacing in your AutoCAD electrical drawings very, very easily. What you've got to bear in mind though is these numbers here are purely text numbers representing the spacing of the rungs on the ladder. You'll see what I mean in a moment. We've got the Demo 11 project open in the Project Manager. We're still in the schematic subfolder, and we've still got the Demo 20 drawing open. If I want to change the spacing of the rungs on this existing ladder, I can edit it very, very easily. I go to the schematic tab on the ribbon here, go to the Edit Wires Wire Numbers panel here, and using the same flyout menu as before, we go to Revise Ladder. Now you'll notice the rung spacing is the same as it was before in the previous videos, 0.75. I'm going to change that to 1.5, and it will be inches in this case, because I'm working to the JIC Imperial Standards. I'm going to change the rung count though to 10, because obviously with the spacing, that'll mean that my ladder actually gets longer. I've still got a reference start of 900, still got an index of 1, but can you see I've got a redo tick there kicking in? So what that means is, because I've changed some of the elements in here, in the fields here, like rung spacing and rung count, it'll redo this particular ladder. So when I click on OK, you'll see when I zoom out now, it's got a different number of rungs, and the spacing has all gone a little bit screwy. Can you see that? The reason being is it hasn't actually physically updated the ladder. What it's done is it's updated the spacings down here. All I've done is update the spacings. So what I would need to do here is I would need to add some rungs to the ladder itself. So let's have a look now at adding some rungs to our ladder. In the previous video, we changed the rung spacing, and you can see the numbers there extending from the bottom of the ladder. So we do actually need to extend our ladder and add some new rungs to that ladder. We're still in the Demo 11 project. We're still in drawing Demo 20. And what I'm going to do is zoom into this area here. So if I just pan upwards now, you can see there's the bottom of the ladder. Now I can extend that at any point. If I click here, you'll see the blue grip there, like so. I can click on that blue grip and just drag that down. So if I drag that down a certain distance, you can see the distance there kicking in the little blue input box. So I'm going to extend that down. If we went for, say, 3, that would probably work. So I'm going to put 3 inches in there, like so. That extends that one down. I then hit Escape to deselect and do the same with the other part of the ladder here. Click on the grip. With the polar tracking switched on, I can drag that down, type in 3, and then enter, hit Escape. And then I know that both of those lines are still the same length. Adding a rung is very, very easy. Again, it's on the Schematic tab on the ribbon. Edit Wires, Wire Numbers, and it's that same flyout again that we looked at earlier. We click on Add Rung. And I come into the drawing area and it says Add Rung passing through this location OR. Now you'll notice the OR, I've got the down arrow on the dynamic input prompt. I've also got the option down on the command line. It's wire type. So basically I can change the wire type. Now I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to add a rung passing through this location here. Now be careful. Can you see that my object snaps are on? So what I need to do there is actually physically turn that object snap off. So let's turn that endpoint snap off and come back into the drawing. And then I hover like this and I just click on the line there. And it will place a rung dead on where it finds that location marker, that 908. If I do the same here, click there. Can you see it already lines it in with the location marker for me? It's very, very clever, AutoCAD Electrical. It picks up that piece of text and knows that that's where the rung has got to go. No object snaps needed, you'll notice. Now what I'm going to do is just hit Escape there or Enter to cancel the command. Come out. Now we need to tidy up our ladder because we've got rungs where we don't need them. So zoom in real close and make sure that you delete the rungs you don't need. There's no components on them yet, so you can just delete them in this case. So I select the rung, hit the delete key. Now you'll notice the connectors are left behind. That's because the project properties are set to insert that default connector, so make sure that you delete the connectors as well. Now I'm not going to bore you by deleting every single rung on the ladder, but it's just good housekeeping. Get in there, tidy it up, zoom in. I'll just double click to zoom extents on the wheel there on the mouse and make sure that all of them have the appropriate spacing. So all these intermediate rungs and connectors you would just delete to tidy up your ladder in your AutoCAD drawing. We're now going to look at converting our line number references on our ladders in all of our project drawings. If you're working in a very complicated AutoCAD electrical project with a lot of ladders in the actual drawings themselves, this can actually take the amount of time it takes you to go and make a cup of coffee and come back. We're still in the Demo 11 project in the schematic subfolder, and we're in drawing Demo 20. And you can see that I've zoomed in on our ladder here. You'll notice I haven't removed those extra rungs yet, which is bad of me, I know. But good CAD practice, you would obviously revise those and delete them at a later time. What I'm worried about is the actual reference numbers. You can see on this particular ladder, it starts at 900 in the drawing Demo 20. Now, it may be that we need to convert our line number references so that they're more cohesive with our drawing numbering system. The way to do that is we go to the Schematic tab on the ribbon, Edit Wires, Wire Numbers panel, and we use the same flyout as we did before, and we select Renumber Ladder Reference. Now, this brings in the ladder reference numbers dialog box. It's called Renumber Ladders at the top there. For the first drawing, first ladder, first line reference number, that's going to be 100. And then what I'm going to do for the second drawing and beyond is I'm going to skip drawing to drawing count, and I'm going to go 100 each time. So the second drawing will start at 200, third drawing will start at 300, and so on. Now, you would normally do something like that to allow for numbering, and also more importantly, it's a lot easier when you're on site installing these electrical installations, because you know that, for example, all of the 100s will be on drawing 1. Now, I don't know how many ladders there are in this particular project, but what will happen is we'll find out when we do the renumber. So if I click on OK now, it'll give me the option to select all of the drawings in the project. So I'm going to click Do All. Now, I know that there aren't that many ladders, so this shouldn't take too long. So what I do now is I just click on OK, and what AutoCAD does is it thinks about it. You can see it on the command line working through the drawings there, 3 of 14, 4 of 14, all the way through. And all it does is it calculates those numbers. When I zoom in now, it starts at 500. So drawing demo 20 is obviously the 5th drawing in that renumbering sequence. It just tidies up your numbering for you. And you don't have to go into each and every drawing and edit all of those one by one. You don't have to go and just revise the ladder numbers on one drawing. You can do all of them in one hit, like I've just done. Now, obviously, this isn't a very complicated AutoCAD electrical project, so it literally took a few seconds to do that. If you've got a very busy project, sometimes that can take quite a while. So like I said, go get that cup of coffee, let AutoCAD Electrical do its work. When you come back, it's all renumbered for you. When you look at your ladders in your AutoCAD electrical drawings, you'll notice when I hover over this line here, the properties come up and say it is purely a line on the layer wires. Also here, this line here is also just on the layer wires. It's just a line until you actually number those wires using the wire numbering tools. If I zoom in on the connections here, if I hover over that, it tells me it's a block reference on the layer symbols. So you can see that this one here, on the left-hand side, is a ladder we've inserted using the ladder command. Now, this ladder over here looks identical. It's got the numbers, it just hasn't got the connectors. If I hover over these lines, though, you can see they're on layer 0. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to select all of the lines, not the numbers. If I miss that line, just get that vertical line there as well. I'm going to go to the Home tab on the ribbon, go to the layer pull down, and make sure that they are on the wires layer. So if I hit escape now, zoom in, hover over there, that is on the wires layer. So that has now replicated our ladder over here. Let's have a look at one of these numbers here. If I click on it and then right click, I can edit the component. It is a component of the ladder itself. Let's hit escape there, zoom out and zoom in on this 800 here. If I click on that and right click, I get the standard shortcut menu. Why do I get the standard shortcut menu? Because it's purely text. However, I can convert those numbers to the actual components required for the table. Let's have a look at converting non-AutoCAD electrical objects, such as text, into AutoCAD electrical objects that we can use with our ladder. What we do is we go to the Conversion Tools tab on the ribbon, and we use this icon here. Convert ladder. It converts non-intelligent ladder line reference numbers to those compatible with AutoCAD Electrical. So if I click there and come into the drawing area, it prompts me to select the objects. So you need to select first the ladder reference text objects. So I'll zoom in a bit. And again, you might want to just zoom out slightly and just get this just right on the screen. I'm going to click down here and just drag that crossing selection window up to there like that. Press enter to confirm. And now I can modify those line reference numbers. So you can see there, look, rung spacing, rung count 2, reference start 809, and so on. So they're all in there. So if I OK that now, what's happened is it's actually updated those for me. So if I hit escape now and zoom in, just bring that down a little bit there, just pan down and click there, right click, it's now an actual AutoCAD electrical component. So if I go edit component there now, I can go in and edit those line reference numbers. So they're not just text anymore. If I click on this one, right click, again, I get the edit component option. Now the reason I've done that is obviously I might have a drawing that's come in from a third party that hasn't used AutoCAD Electrical. So it will purely be lines and text representing my logic ladders on the electrical drawings. I need to convert that information to make sure that those numbers on those ladders get picked up if I do a numbering project-wide where the numbers change on the ladder. So now, if I went back to the schematic tab on the ribbon and went over here and decided to do a renumber ladder reference project-wide, that would allow me to do that with these numbers down here that I've just converted. So you can convert non-AutoCAD electrical numbers into actual components that link to your ladders in your AutoCAD electrical drawings. We're still in the project Demo 11, we're still in the schematic subfolder, but we're now in a new blank drawing. We've moved away from the ladders drawing, which was Demo 2020. We're now in Demo 25 there. You can see it there. It's a blank drawing. Now you'll notice there's a little extra line in the top left corner. We'll come to that in a moment. Don't worry about it. It's kind of easy to work out what it does when we start doing what we're going to do later. Up until now, we've just used the regular reference numbering that we set up when we place things like ladders, components, and so on. So it's just come up with the next reference number in the list, so to speak. Now what you can do is you can set up grids on your AutoCAD electrical drawings, and you can do that by way of controlling the drawing properties. So you would have noticed when we went to insert a ladder on the schematic tab in the insert wires wire numbers panel here, that we have the option of an XY grid setup or an X zones setup. The reason that you have those different setting up methods is so that you can actually tally up the components and the ladders on your drawings. So let's have a look at setting up an XY grid setup first. You do it in the properties of your drawing. So you come down here to the project manager, right click on Demo 25, properties, drawing properties like so. And you go to drawing format, this tab here. Now you'll notice we have a format referencing set up here. I need an XY grid like so, and you can see the little preview there. I click on setup, and what happens now is I can set up all of this information. Now that little line in the top left corner, you can see why it's important. So if I click on pick there, checking any files for any marked in use read only, which there isn't, and I need to go to that point there, that is now the origin of my XY grid setup. Now the spacing is going to be 2 inches each way, horizontally and vertically. That's fine, you can see the distances there. There's the vertical, there's the horizontal. Now the XY format will be horizontal vertical. I can flip that if I want to, vertical horizontal. I would prefer horizontal vertical, and the separator is going to be a little dash. You can just see it there in that box there. So now I need to put the grid labels in. Now these all have to be separated with commas and no spaces. So I click there like that, and what I do now, comma, and then B, and then comma, and then C, and then D, like so. Make sure you get the commas in there though, comma, E. And I'll keep going until we get to a suitable number of letters like so. So we'll get to H. That gives us 8. Now the numbers obviously need to tally up. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of that's in there. So now when I click on OK and then click on OK again, those drawing properties are now set up for that drawing Demo 25, like so. So I go up here now, click on the flyout and go XY grid setup. I go insert XY grid labels, horizontal count, vertical count. Obviously there's 8 and 8. Click on OK, and there they are there. Now I've just used the default settings. I haven't actually set up any fonts or any text for this, but if you zoom in, you can see there's the A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, and so on. What I always do is I always try and bring my origin in a bit, hence that little line. That line is actually 2 inches long at 45 degrees. And what I used here was the object snap tracking between that endpoint and that endpoint to get an exact corner, and then just dragged it down. So what happens now if I place a ladder, let's say? Can I place a ladder in a drawing that uses an XY grid? Well, let's go and have a look and see. Insert ladder. I can still insert a ladder, no problem. Width is 4.5, spacing 0.75. And let's go for, I don't know, let's say 10 rungs. Press tab, that'll work that out for me. I'll leave it as one phase and draw the rungs yes. Click on OK. specify a start position, say there, and you'll notice this time there are no reference numbers on the actual ladder itself. That's because you refer to these here. So you've got B3 will be there, and so on and so forth. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to set up your ladder so that it actually ties in with the coordinates and the spacings. Now, I haven't done that in this case. You can see that that ladder does not tally up exactly with any coordinates on that XY grid. However, other things that come into the drawing can access the grid that we've placed, the XY grid, and can actually have reference numbers associated with the grid. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to undo the ladder. Takes a few steps on the undo like that on the quick access toolbar. I'm going to go to the schematic tab on the ribbon and then click on the icon menu. And this will bring up all of the icons, the schematic symbols that I can place inside my drawing. So let's go for something simple like a relay or a contact. So if I click there, I'll go for, let's say, a relay. So you've got normally closed or normally open, NC or NO. So let's go for a relay, normally closed contact, that one there. And I'm going to place it, let's say, in that A1 area there. So that'll update everything there. There's the tag. I'm just going to OK that. And I'm going to zoom in. So you can see there that that is just a relay, closed relay. Now that doesn't actually pick up anything off of the grid. So let's go and find something that might pick up something off the grid. Some of them do and some of them don't. And you've got to kind of work on it and work out which ones do and which ones don't. If you're building up a circuit, you can normally find ones that do actually pick up on this information. So, for example, motor control. Let's put a 3-phase motor in there. And we'll drop that, say, there. Can you see there? MOT C1. Just click on OK there. And if I zoom in now, there's the C, there's the 1, motor C1. Can you see it's picked up that grid reference? So if I now move that component, so I'll click on it, right click, and I'll move that component over here to E1. What'll happen is it'll update, and now it's saying, would you like to run auto retag on the component? Now I do need to retag it because it's in a different place on the grid. So if I OK to retag that, and I zoom in, it's now E1. So that's why these grids are useful, especially when you're going symbol to symbol. Rather than have a logic ladder, you might be going point to point on a circuit, starting at A1 and going across to E1. Any components going across from A1 to E1 will obviously pick up on that grid. So that's why these XY grids, when you're referencing, are very, very useful in your AutoCAD electrical drawings. Referring to the previous video where we set up an XY grid, you can also set up what they call an X zone or XZ drawing. It's sometimes also known as an X grid drawing. So what I've done is I've copied the Demo 25 drawing and created a new blank drawing, Demo 30. We've still got that little line to allow us to place the grid like so. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the Demo 30 drawing there in the Project Manager, right click, Properties, Drawing Properties. We then go to the drawing format like we did before, but this time we're going to set it just to X zones or X grid, or sometimes an XZ drawing it's called. Click on the setup. It's very similar to the XY grid, but we're only spacing horizontally this time. Again, we need to pick on our origin. Using our endpoint snap there, we snap to the end of that small line that we placed in the drawing earlier. And we need our zone labels. So again, we'll make sure that these are all in place like so. You'll notice I've just put my caps lock on there. It's always good to make sure that you do these in capitals, otherwise they do look a bit unprofessional, to be honest. Capitals work better on these grids for the X and Y and just the X zone setup as well. So we're going to put a comma there, and then we're going to go B, comma, C, comma, D, comma, E, comma, F, comma, G, comma, H. So we're going to have 8. I then click on OK and click on OK again. That's all set up in the drawing properties. I then need to go to the schematic tab on the ribbon, insert wires, wire numbers up here, click on the down arrow and select X zones setup. Same dialog box appears, but it's for X zones this time rather than the XY grid. We insert the zone labels like so. We click on OK. And as you can see, there they are there. So if I zoom in and pan, A, B, C, D, and so on. And it's the same process as before. If I now go to the icon menu, we'll pick that motor again like we did last time. So I'll go to motor control, three-phase motor, and I'll place that there underneath the A. M-O-T-A. Click on OK, and there's M-O-T-A there. So if I now click on that component, right-click and use the Move component on the right-hand button shortcut menu, move it across to C, let's say there, like so, it updates, OK to retag, and it updates to C. So sometimes you will use just X zones horizontally. Sometimes you will use X and Y grids where you've got here A, B, C, D and going vertically 1, 2, 3, 4 perhaps. These can be numbered and labelled exactly how you want them to be. I've done it very simply with A, B, C, D and 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing to stop you using different combinations of letters and numbers to make that work for your particular AutoCAD electrical project.